When Skull and Bones was first announced back in 2016, everybody was incredibly excited for it. You see, the success of Assassin's Creed Black Flag took people into this world of pirates, Caribbean, ships sailing treasure and death, and everybody was on board. So when Ubisoft announced they were going to be making a standalone version of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, a game that would explore that in-depth version of history even more than what we'd already seen, my God, especially with this trailer, an incredibly cinematic and dark experience. That's what was promised. I mean, it looks like the intro to Vikings. If you didn't want more than that, I don't know what's on your mind. Black Sails at the time was also an incredibly popular TV show, so the hype was building around this game. And then it didn't come out. You see, Skull and Bones was, it's safe to say, a bit of a disaster of a development cycle. It did this thing where it was going to be released this year, and then the next year, and then they didn't say anything for a while, and people wondered, has the game been cancelled? And then Ubisoft came out saying, no, it hasn't. And then finally, a few weeks back, we actually got an announcement saying that the game is actually on its way. With it, we got a trailer with the developers talking about some of the best and the worst features, I think, on most people's minds within the title itself. And then we actually got some gameplay. Through this, we've been able to see all the reactions from fans. Some of it good, but most of it not exactly all that positive. But what is actually making people angry at Skull and Bones? The thing is, everybody wanted a Black Flag 2.0. That was the main selling point. I mean, if you're going to promote a game made by the company that made Assassin's Creed Black Flag, saying this is going to be the next standalone version of that, that's what people are going to be expecting. So when you release a trailer like this, that shows the game looking like a mobile, arcadey looking mess, well, people aren't exactly going to be happy. I mean, this is what we were promised. Look at how good this seems. I get it. It's a cinematic trailer. This isn't gameplay, but this is what was being promoted. And then this is what was shown. This is the most recent version. Look, that is supposed to be gathering what is that? Oh, is that hunting? But it goes further than that. Whilst it hasn't been announced and nothing has been leaked so far, it looks like Ubisoft are already planning on microtransactions, and that's what they've built this title around. Not only does it look incredibly arcadey, but you can see skins on the ships. You can see logos. You can see weapons and shops already in their trailer. What are you doing? Okay, the developers have released this gameplay trailer and talking about some of the biggest aspects within the title. That was kind of disappointing, but it was when we actually got some raw, uncut gameplay that I was really disappointed, because when it comes to actual gameplay, there's very little there. I mean, in this trailer, you can see people around on the crow's nest, for example, looking at other ships, and then we can see the raw gameplay, and it looks incredibly clunky and arcadey. In this, we can see some smooth, slick battles, and then when we see the raw and cut gameplay, well, those battles tend to be a clunky mess. Boarding has been promoted as part of the game, and I even said in my last video, I swear, if this boarding mechanic is just a cutscene, I'm gonna lose it. And then we got the gameplay, and it is. When you board, you just go up to an enemy ship that's been injured, your guys put hooks on them, reel them towards you, and you think, this is my chance, this is my opportunity to get all the loot and have an epic sword fight on the back of enemy ships, and then it goes into a cutscene, and it does it all for you. What's the point? This is what I'm really struggling to work out. Why have we got this incredible idea that everybody was really excited for, that came off the back of one of the most successful Assassin's Creed games, and then they've made it into an arcadey ship battle title? Not this big open world pirate simulator that they started with and were promoting. Is this down to a lack of imagination, a lack of resources, or a lack of ability to make the game that people initially thought? I mean, we have some cool things like attacking forts offshore, but even that somehow they make look weird. You're not able to actually disembark from your boat, and the only times you can are in these hub cities that are very controlled linear zones. The inventory system, okay, it kind of looks alright, and we can see a little bit of a look at what it's going to be like looting barges, whether you're getting resources like wood or ammo or food for your crew. We also have an idea that if you don't feed and keep your crew happy, that they will be able to revolt and mutiny, and I think that's a really cool addition. But we don't know what actual effect this has. The only consequences we know within the game so far is that if you die, you lose a few resources and you get to start again. So if your crew mutiny, does it even make a difference to the overall game? Because this has lent so much into the arcade version of this title, it seems like nothing's going to have consequences. If it was an open world where you had to build up your ship from nothing to these big galleons, I'd completely understand it. And that kind of looks like what they're trying to lean towards to promote it as. But from all the bits of gameplay, it seems like every tiny bit of open world that we get teased, it gets brought back into a more, okay, well, it's actually just a weird mini game most of this title. Nearly all the comments I've seen on this are negative. We were properly excited 5 years ago at the first ever reveal of this game. It reminds me of Master and Commander at the time. Now I'm getting genuinely worried. I think with the time, the hype I had for this has just vanished. Cool. Boarding without any of the fun or danger that comes with actually trying to board another ship. Just get close, hit a button so you can watch the cool shit you could be doing, if they even put that into the game. And it feels like that's the kind of sensation with a lot of this gameplay. They have some really cool ideas, and there could be some really cool dynamic elements within the title. This risk and reward with boarding an enemy ship. I mean, when you get them down to a certain level or a certain health, you could then hook up to them and get on board with it, but you have the risk of being stuck in the water so other people could attack you, or even fighting someone in hand-to-hand combat. They could be a better swordsman than you, so that runs the risk of you losing your advantage if you decide to go for a boarding action. But that won't be in this game because it's just a cutscene. You press a button and it shows you all of the cool stuff that you could have been doing. I'm not trying to seem picky or ungrateful, but if this doesn't have sword fighting mechanics, it's going to be a massive letdown for me. I think people were even on board with the Ubisoft release trailer, you know, with the director's commentary. I think people, whilst there was negative actions towards it, were still kind of excited with what we could get. But then as soon as the gameplay came out that wasn't manipulated by Ubisoft in any way, it really started to show that this massive potential has been wasted. Now, I fully understand it's hard to judge a game before it even comes out. Will I be playing it? Well, I guess I kind of have to at this point. But I do think it's a valid point to say that this has killed all my hype for Skull and Bones. Actually seeing Skull and Bones. And if it's done that for more than just me as well, there's got to be an issue with what Ubisoft have developed and not just some stranger's opinion online. This massive open world that could have been a Black Flag meets Sea of Thieves style game just seems to be another Ubisoft title that is a vessel for shilling skins and cosmetics. Many people say that cosmetics don't really matter within a game because they don't affect the actual gameplay, and it's unlikely that they'll be pay to win within Skull and Bones. It will mostly just be paints and looks, but it still manipulates the way that the game is developed. With a focus on trying to cash out in making as many things that can be skinned as possible, it means that they're not actually focusing on the gameplay, and gameplay is always king, except within Skull and Bones, because gameplay here seems to be a backseat driver to the potential that could have been. Skull and Bones still has some hope. Ubisoft do have a track record of making okay games, and more recently they have not been all that successful. I still think the Assassin's Creed franchise has some good titles in it, and maybe, just maybe, they might pull this out the bag, but I'm not feeling so confident. Because Skull and Bones is finally coming, but it seems fans are very, very angry.